Hello and welcome to our new webinar now, and this time it's a pretty interesting topic with the upcoming PCI DSS 4.0. A lot of queries are there, a lot of apprehensions are there, excitement is there in the industry, and so many questions also came through. So we thought it best to invite Mr. Nitin Bhatnagar, whom almost everyone, I'm sure that every one of you know. Nitin, welcome for this webinar on PCI DSS 4.0 webinar Readiness. Are you ready for the V3.2.1 requirement? So welcome, Nitin. Thank you so much, and a real pleasure and honor to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Nitin. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me on this.
So this is Nitin. I'm sure that everyone knows. He doesn't really need an introduction, but just to give a brief, he's the Associate Director for PCI Council, and he is looking after India and other areas in the APAC, and he works very closely with the PCI management for and affiliate members, payment brands, even QSAs like us. He is really a lifesaver in many situations, and he's a very well-known innovative thinker. He's a passionate speaker, as you must have heard it. He's a technical writer. He's been there on multiple media outlets such as ISMG, BBC World News, CNBC Ava, CNBC TV 18, Economic Times, Times of India, Hindustan Times, and he's been working on the payment security domain for more than a decade. And of course, he's traveled to more than 50 countries, worked with people with more than 60 plus nationalities. He's himself a bachelor degree in computer science from Bundelkhand University, Jhansi, and a master's in cyber law and InfoSec from Indian Institute of Information Technologies, Allahabad, India. So again, pleasure to have him with us, gentlemen, and everyone. And this is me. Of course, you must have seen me over the years in all our webinars, and of course I've been there for 30 years. I'm myself a QSA, QPA, SSA, CRISC, and many other things. I have my own company, VISTA InfoSec, and just before we go ahead, I would like to let everyone know that in case you're facing any issues in any technical areas or whatever, just do drop us a line in the chat window. Our technical team is on standby and we'll look into it immediately. And of course, and that's our company. We are there across the globe. We're there in US, UK, Canada, Singapore, of course in India, Singapore also. Yeah, we are there. I'll not speak much about our company, and our YouTube channel is and a small correction, of course, from my side. He is, I'm sorry, Nitin, I didn't account for the update. He is a regional director. My apologies, humble apologies on that. He's a regional director for India, South Asia, and the Middle East. Almost every time I call him, he is in some part of the world except India. So today, thankfully, he's in India. Anyway, so that's our YouTube channel. It's probably one of the most well-known on the internet, on subscribers, with multiple compliance videos that we've been posting for more than 5 years now. Everything is free. Please feel free to subscribe to our channel and get the regular updates. And as you attend the webinar, you can apply for one CPE that you can use for CISA, CRS, CISM, and all those certifications that you can that you might be having. But let me tell you that we are not giving any sort of CPE certificates. So please don't write to me for that. We are doing this thing for free. It gets very tiring for the hundreds of people who are attending to make a certificate for them. So, but you can still apply. And in case there is a query, we do respond after checking whether you've actually attended the webinar. And as you go along, as I said, feel free to type in your queries in the query box and we'll answer as much as possible. And that's what makes our webinar extremely well received. And for our webinar today, what we have done is that we had sent across a mail on to all the participants, to all the people, asking them to send their queries on askus@vistainfosec.com. We received dozens of queries from which we highlighted like 16 of them, which will take up, and Nitin would be answering that. So without much ado and me talking too much, let me hand over the stage to Nitin. Nitin, I'm just making you the presenter. Nitin would like to make a small, a presentation on what's happening, and after that we'll jump directly into the Q&A. Over to you, Nitin.
Thank you very much. Just trying to get.
Yeah, sure. Take your time. No problem.
Yeah, hope everyone is able to see my screen. Narendra, please just confirm if you're able to see my screen so that I can start. And before that, thank you very much, Mr. InfoSec, for giving me this opportunity to come out and speak on this very pertinent topic on PCI DSS version 4.0. And the standard is getting retired on 31st of March 2024. It's just surprising, Naren, when we did the first webinar when we were talking about PCI version 4.0 is released, and we are just 2 years past. Time flies. Definitely time
21.
flies.
It is 2021 July, Nitin, and I really cannot appreciate you enough for being there. Thank you again.
Yeah. Thanks for that. So moving forward, without taking much time, as Naren already said, half of the time I'm traveling. Yes, you're right. After this webinar, I'm just rushing to airport for my another business work trip. But I'll make sure that I just this webinar today and give that sufficient time that is required. So who we are, just wanted to quickly appraise the audience on this webinar about we are here to help to secure the payment data. PCI Security Standard Council is a global standards body. We help industry protect the payment data. We help businesses detect, mitigate, and prevent criminal attacks and breaches. And also, our standards, are flexible, industry driven, and we have different programs around our standards which can help you protect the payment data. So that's a quick about who we are. We have been formed by the 5 major payment networks: Visa, Mastercard, Amex, JCB, Discover, and they're the 5 payment banks who are involved in our day-to-day activities. I think this is a very interesting slide, and I use the slide in all my webinars, and I'm sure Naren is also will second to it, because this slide is for education purpose. If you want to take a snapshot of the slide and you want to use it for an internal purpose, you can do it. This slide largely talks about the ecosystem, the payment ecosystem. So you can see the card issuers, the card issuer, cardholder bank, consumers, merchant service providers, vendor solution providers, acquirer, processor, and the issuer. And the standards that we have, today we have 15 data security standards, and I keep reiterating, when we were talking way back sometime, we had 13, then we had 14, now we have 15, and these number will definitely will see a spike at some point, and where the PCI Security Council, PCI Security Standard Council body is trying to work on. Now, issuers bank definitely would have to adopt to the security standard, card protection, physical standard, card protection, logical, and token service provider standard. And for the merchants and the solution providers and the service providers, vendors, you may have to adopt to different certain standards like PTS, POI, HSM, P2P, 3DS, SDK, software-based pin entry on card standard for the mobile payment, secure software lifecycle standard, cardless payments on cards, mobile payments on cards, and PCI 3D secure. Now, these standards are evolved from time, and I think we have seen a drastic change in last 2 decades on the evolution on these standards, and these standards have seen minor, major, and minor and major changes. And definitely we have seen the retirement of the standards as well. So PCI DSS got retired in October 2022, 2 years back, and we replaced it with the secure software lifecycle standard. Now, as we talk, we are on the verge of the retirement of PCI DSS version 3.2.1, which is 31st March 2024, and that's the reason why we are all here. But I think this is an important slide. Last point on this particular slide I just wanted to highlight is that if you have any questions pertaining to the compliance to any of these standards mentioned on the slides, you have to reach out to your payment networks, and they are the one who are driving these compliances with these standards and manage the compliance framework for the industry. We are the one at PCI Security Standard Council. We develop standards, we manage these standards, and we also provide industry implementation support that is required to adopt these standards as a large. Without any further delay, let's move on to the PCI DSS version 4.0. There were 4 goals with that intent that we have got the PCI DSS version 4.0 released in the industry, ensuring the standard continues to meet the security needs of the payment industry, flexibility to support different methodologies being used to achieve security, promote security as a continuous process, and enhance the validation methods and procedures. Now, this is a quite important slide again, talking about the PCI DSS version 4.0 implementation timeline. So we are on Q1, as you rightly said, we are here on Q1, and before we see the Q2 of 2024, 31st March 2024, the PCI DSS version 3.2.1 is going to retire. What that mean to the industry is the PCI Security Standard Council will stop supporting any implementations, will stop providing any implementation support around PCI DSS version 3.2.1. Also, you would still have some time to for the future dated requirements before they become effective, which is 31st March 2025. And what we have been educating to the industry and creating awareness around PCI DSS version 4.0 is don't wait for the last minute. Do not wait for that magic date of 31st March 2024 or 31st March of 2025 to meet the certain requirements which are today best practices, tomorrow would become effective requirements, or probably the version 3.2.1 retirement. So that's the timeline, implementation timeline for version 3.2.1 to version 4.0 looks like. And just make sure that you understand on the future dated new requirements that has been added to PCI DSS version 4.0. So I think what's new with PCI DSS version 4.0, I think we talked about continuing to meet the security needs of the payment industry. So we have expanded. We are going to. I think we have some highlights which Naren told me. We have some questions around multi-factor authentication. So we'll talk more in detail. But that's where the multi-factor authentication requirements have changed. We have updated the password requirements. We have added new requirements around the e-commerce and phishing attacks. So we are going to talk about that. When we talk about promoting security as a continuous process, we have clearly added new guidance for industry stakeholders to better understand how to implement and maintain security. We have new reporting guidelines, and we also have assigned roles and responsibilities for each specific requirement. Now, increasing the flexibility, we have also we have given allowance of the group shared and generic accounts. We have targeted risk analysis, as a TRA, as one of the activity that has been added to the PCI DSS version 4.0, and definitely much talked the customized approach, which is a new method to implement and validate PCI requirements to provide another option for the organizations who are using new emerging technologies in order innovative ways to meet the requirements of PCI or to achieve the security objectives of the PCI DSS requirements, is where we have given that kind of a flexibility within PCI DSS version 4.0. And definitely enhancing the validation method and procedures. We have increased alignment between information reported in the report of compliance, talking about self-assessment questionnaire, information summarized in an attestation of compliance. These are the clear validation and reporting options. We have bring in more support to transparency and granularity. So there are ways. These are with the 4 goals we have kept in mind, in order to get the best out of the PCI DSS version 4.0, and we have already started getting some really positive feedback from the industry on how they're adopting PCI DSS version 4.0 and how it's helping them to protect the payment data. And the important slide, which I think we have been talking a lot, we're talking about it for long. People ask us, does the PCI standards can be used to protect against threats and secure other elements in the payment ecosystem? Answer is yes. So PCI DSS can be used to protect against threats and secure other data elements or any data or information, not necessarily just specific to the cards, but you can use this information to protect other data or information in the payment ecosystem. So that's the feedback that we have been getting for long, and we thought that it's better that we clarify and we make sure that these standards are global and these standards can still use to protect against threats and secure other data elements or data or information that we are talking about within the payment ecosystem. Now, I think we have added 53 new requirements that apply to new entities. We have 11 additional requirements for service providers, and we have 13 effective immediately requirements that are effective immediately to all the PCI DSS version 4.0 assessments. So this is the quick snapshot on the number of requirements that has been added to the PCI DSS version 4.0. As I talked about evolving security requirements, we have added authentication, phishing attacks related requirements. We have added e-commerce, skimming related requirements to the standard. And these standards are evolving. You have to keep watching this space, because we recently also have released RFC to a very specific stakeholders group where you may see PCI DSS version 4.0 getting a revision to the standard also, which is going to be a minor revision, nothing major what you see, but you will have to keep a watch of this space where you will see a revision to the PCI DSS version 4.0. So you can assume the way we getting feedback from the industry, we are trying to make sure that we align it to the current requirements of the industry and the stakeholders so that we are updated with the standard PCI DSS version 4.0. So I think bringing flexibility for different methodologies, as I talked about, we have self-assessment questionnaires, new reporting options. The self-assessment questionnaires are no longer the same that you used to see. They are evolved. We have added new requirements. We have added requirements for reporting for the service providers. There has been a new guidance altogether released in November by PCI Security Standards Council on the targeted risk analysis. If you have not downloaded this document, please go and download this document. This is going to be really useful for you to understand how one should be doing a targeted risk analysis. I think 8-step journey to PCI DSS version 4, which is very simple. Start now if you have not started now. I'm sure I've been talking about this for the last 2 years. That start now will still be start now until 31st March, but you have to start your journey now. You have to stay strong, make sure that you understand what you're doing, what your current requirements, what your current controls are, understanding the requirements of the PCI DSS version 4.0, choosing the right validation. Don't just fall prey to something, my competitor or my other companies for doing a customized approach. Why not I am doing it? Why I'm doing a defined approach or he's doing a customized approach? So please choose your right validation. You have to analyze. You have to study your own validation methods to arrive at a conclusion that what is right for your organization to achieve. Do the work. You have to do your groundwork and make sure that you have task forces within your organization who understand what they are getting into. Using the trusted partners, companies like the QSA companies. VISTA InfoSec is one of the QSA company. Use your trusted partners who are listed onto the PCI Security Standard Council website. Use ISAs who are qualified to do internal assessments for your organization. Use PCIPs. Use the recognized tools and technologies that are listed with the PCI Security Standard Council. So using a trusted partner is going to help you a lot in terms of accomplishing the PCI DSS version 4.0 compliance. Do your own assessments and prioritize security as a continuous process. So I think these are the 8 steps on your journey to PCI DSS version 4.0. If you want to really get more insight onto this, the link is on the slide, PCISSC.org, 8 steps to take forward towards the PCI DSS version 4.0. You can use this link, take a screenshot, or probably you can go to the document library on the PCI Security Standard Council website and you can download the 8 steps on your journey to PCI DSS version 4.0. Using all our resources are free and you can use them at any point of time to refer to any concerns, questions that you may have on PCI DSS version 4.0. Ways to engage: you can engage with PCI Security Standard Council in a form of a board of advisor, a form of a GEAR, which is a global executive assessor roundtable. We have regional engagement boards and we have a special interest group where we seek inputs from the industry stakeholders to evolve our standards. Collaboration is part of the PCI Security Standard Council. We keep releasing joint bulletins. We have Coffee with the Council podcast. We have PCI Perspective blogs. We have speaking engagements and community meetings where you can collaborate, you can come forward, meet like-minded people from the payment industry, get to know what's happening across the world, and take those learnings back to your organization so that you can implement those with the right intent. So collaboration is one of the key that we focus on, and these are the few quick snapshots that you see on the screen of what the work that we have been doing across the globe. The global content library is another way where you get all presentations, community meeting recordings, educational content, and whatnot. So it's a one-stop shop for you to get all those relevant content from the PCI Security Standard Council website, and that could be useful again for your organization to meet the requirements of the standard. I think as I come towards, and before we get into the Q&A with the Narendra, I think one of the way how you can get all these benefits is that there are different levels of participation within the PCI Council. One is individual, where anyone can be a member, and we have associate participating organization. We have principal. So the difference between associate and principal is that associate gets involved in all review of the drafts of the standards. They get to nominate and run for a board of advisors, and they get all those benefits that one could think of in order to get information across the globe on what's happening in the payment space. So they get weekly monitors where they get updates from what is happening within the PCI Security Standard Council and the payment industry. Principal is a different level of membership where the principal are going to define or design the future for the council, and where they get involved and decide what are the next steps that the PCI Security Standard Council has to work on. So these are the three levels of what I would say our program that where you can come forward and join us and contribute in developing the standards and influencing the standards from the region specific. So the principal participating organization is an exclusive group, and they have roundtable roadmap roundtable group, and which is called RRG, and we have a technological guidance group, which is a TGG. They meet regularly with the council strategy in order to plan strategically collaboration and drive the council's direction. That's what I spoke. So these are the different levels of where you can come forward and contribute to the development of the standards. This year, please save the dates right away. And I would request Narendra also to block the dates for attending the community meetings happening this year. North America is happening on 10th to 12th September in Boston. Europe is happening 8th to 10th October in Barcelona, in Spain, and Asia Pacific is happening in Hanoi, Vietnam. So save the dates. If you are interested, please keep watch on events.pcisecuritystandards.org for more information. With that, if you want to get really involved with the council, scan this barcode, follow us on PCI SSC social media pages to get more information, and or probably send an email to participation if you're interested in joining us as an associate participating organization or a principal participating organization. With that, Narendra, I would hand it back to you and stop sharing my screen.
Thank you again, Nitin. That was a very, very interesting and enlightening approach that you've given to, especially on the workings or the internal workings of the council in itself. So thank you again. And as Nitin said very well, if I might add, actually, I've been involved in PCI since 2007 when version 1.1 was there. And by far, I'm sure even Nitin would agree with that, is that this has been the largest update to the standard since then. Never. And this time there were 3 RFCs that was given out for review, and then 6,000 pieces of feedback. Believe me, guys, 6,000 pieces of feedback from the industry. Okay, so it's not like a group of people sitting and deciding what is to happen on the standard. The council actually took on everybody, hundreds of people, thousands of feedback, then consolidated. 1 RFC, second RFC, third RFC. It is really a hugely commendable approach, work that was done by the council to come up with this masterpiece that's totally up to date today. And as Nitin has been saying for the past 2 years, that is, get started immediately. Don't wait for the last minute. As a matter of fact, we stopped signing up new assignments for 3.2.1, and we have been encouraging people that of these 53 odd, requirements that you can do up till 31st March 2025. Don't wait until then. Even now, do at least 30, do at least 20, and have a strategy for the remainder requirements. Otherwise, it's going to be a big mess, because even the way the encryption has happened has changed, authentication has changed, number of passwords has gone up from 7 to 12. It is massive. And now vulnerability assessment has to be authenticated. Earlier, people used to take the shortcuts. Now, requirement 1 doesn't just cover routers and firewalls. It even has a terminology of NSC, network security control. So everything in the security in your organization is there. Okay, so I'll jump directly into the question. So first question, Nitinji, for the day. This comes all the way from Africa. Does PCI DSS version 4.0 address threats related to data leakage? And if so, what controls are associated with it?
Yeah, I think. I think
yeah.
PCI security standards are. I think the question is more little, towards the compliance. But I think let me try to attempt in a different way, not traditionally. But PCI security standards are largely to protect the payment data. Now, if you're storing, processing, and or transmitting the payment data, then you need to adopt to the standards of PCI DSS. Now, the standards requirements have evolved from time to time, and we're talking about, and I think this is only the gold standard that you have in the industry, and technical in nature, where you talk about multi-factor authentication, you talk about encryption, you talk about truncation, you talk about the password policies, you talk about risk assessment, you talk about network security assessments, you talk about vulnerability assessments on your internal and external networks, right? So if the requirements are being met with the intent to create an ecosystem, a safe and secure ecosystem, and not just thinking that this is something that you just have accomplished and automatically next year annual validation is going to happen. No, you have to manage the compliance to the standards, and also making sure that you are updated. One is updated definitely, and you are involved within the stakeholders community, and you are contributing to the development of these standards. So that way, what will happen is that you know what is happening. What are the critical areas that you need to work on? What is your organization demanding in terms of meeting the requirements of the standards, different standards? As I said, it's just not PCI DSS. It's a bouquet of standards, of 15 standards. Now, which standard is going to get applicable to your environment is something that you need to evaluate, right? And the compliance program to these standards is being driven by the payment networks. Now, that's how you need to sit on a drawing table and work with the QSA companies like yours, Naren, and they have to work with you in terms of getting that kind of insights, because you are the one who are out in the marketplace, you are talking about this. So in order to ensure that what exactly your organization functions are, what exactly your organization objectives are, what standards works for you, probably your PCI DSS is for an environment, right? You're securing an environment. How about applications? Are you securing your applications or softwares with the other PCI standards? Like talking about secure software, talking about SLC. You have a mobile, you have something else in your environment which I am not aware of, for which you may need to adopt to that specific standard. You need to understand the compliance program around that standard. Go back to the payment networks. So holistically, what I would like to say here is that to answer that, you have to understand your environment first. And PCI standards are gold standards. Again, I would reiterate, if implemented with the right intent, it will definitely help you protect the payment data. So what you usually say is that if the payment data is protected, even if a hacker is trying to get into your system, right? And because of the controls, the stringent controls that you have around the infrastructure of the PCI environment, the attacker with a malicious intent is not able to extract anything out, is something that we should aim at, right? So that's how implementing the requirements with the right intent is going to play an important role.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you much, because almost data leakage, what could be the controls for data leakage is a very big term, and data leakage can happen from any event. It could be electronic, it could be physical, it could be even a person where somebody is conveying information without knowing that they are giving out some high priority information.
Yeah.
All right. So the next question, actually, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping a bit, Nitin, and I know I'm.
No, that's pretty much fine. Yeah.
Okay. That's very kind of you. Okay. The second question, Nitin, is like there is a lot of discussion that happens with regards to the customized approach, and some people even come up to me and say, Nitin, there is a customized approach. Why they have still kept the compensating control? They both sound the same. So I do give the answer, but better it is from your side, Nitin, as to I can understand the approach behind it and why the council has done that. But if you would elaborate on it, what distinguishes the customized approach controls from the compensating controls, Nitin?
So I think, can compensating control be used to meet the customized approach objective? It should be your first question. Yeah. Answer is big no. No, the compensating controls are not an option with the customized approach. That's, I think, all the stakeholders need to understand. That the customized approach is for organizations that choose to develop their own controls that meet the requirements of the customized approach objective. Right? Now, it would not make sense for an organization to also develop an alternative compensating control, because the customized implementation that the organization developed cannot meet the customized approach objectives. Now, the question should come, can the compensating control and the customized approach be used for the same requirements? I think that's where typically the stakeholders get a little stuck. Now, yes, the answer to this question is yes. Now, an entity can use compensating controls for certain system components and customized approach to meet the same requirement for other system components. Now, I'll take an example of requirement number 5.3.1 specific for an example. An entity could use a compensating control to meet that requirement for a certain type of server, where there is a legitimate and a documented business constraint that prevents that server from meeting the stated requirements. Now, entity may also choose to use the customized approach to meet the same requirement for other system component, where it has implemented a unique approach to detect and address the latest malware threats. Now, entity could also use a defined approach as stated in the standard to meet the same requirement for another group of system components. Now, that's where you can use compensating control and customized approach in the same requirement. Now, talking about what is the difference between compensating control and customized approach. Now, the PCI DSS version 4.0 offers two ways, which is very clear to implement PCI DSS requirement: defined approach and customized approach, which we all know today, right? Now, the defined approach, I'll talk about the defined approach. The reason is because people have to understand what is defined approach and customized approach. So the defined approach is the traditional method of implementing and validating the PCI controls. Now, it is what you have been doing with version 3.2.1 is was the same that you're going to do with version 4.0. You have everything defined in the standard. You just need to pick the standard, call your QSA, implement the requirements. They sign off on the report. They get annual validation is done. You're done and dusted. Now, talking about the compensating controls are still an option with a defined approach, which is pretty much fine. I'm not. This is still there. Now, compensating controls are often used in situation where there is a legacy system or process that cannot be updated to meet the requirement. But what I said on the customized approach is the customized approach when you are trying to implement something new, when you are trying to use a different technology, when you're trying to use something which is different from your existing, right? Now, for example, again, I'll tell you, customized approach so we have also clarified the customized controls in Appendix B, which we have specifically talked about, what controls can not be used retroactively address a requirement that was missed in the past. For example, ASV scans. That's a specific requirement where what happens is that when the people miss out on the ASV scans, they think that they can use the compensating control and they can get away with the requirement. That is not allowed in the PCI DSS version 4.0 and also in the customized approach, or you are using compensating control. So compensating control cannot be used retroactively to address a requirement that was missed in the past. You would be your annual validation is going to be talking about non-compliance to that specific requirement. Now, it is also important to note that the compensating controls serve a different purpose than the customized approach, which I was trying to highlight. Unlike compensating controls, which are used by an organization having a constraint and are unable to meet the requirement, but in the customized approach, there is no constraint. You have to understand, you are choosing that approach by your own. And when you're choosing that approach,
can I use the word better approach?
that's an industry-wide word, but you can use it a different approach to basically meet a certain requirements of PCI, because you are going to define your own control objectives there. Right? You are going to test them. You need to verify them. And that's where the roles and responsibility wise, the QSA would not get involved in that. The QSA job is to evaluate, review, to bring the independence to the entire thing.
Yes.
And that's where I talked about the organizations today need to invest in getting ISAs, because they are the one who are quite similarly trained by you. Because if you're using a customized approach as an option, it's not easy. I would very upfront tell you it's not easy. But if you're using it, because if you're using it for some reasons, you have to use the customized approach, then you need to be prepared. Use the trusted partners within your system. The QSs are the one who are going to come and review. Right? So that's where the customized approach, if you're using, and do not please map compensating control or try to say that customer compensating control and the customized approach is same. It's not same. It's different. It's like two parallel things. It cannot be construed as one. Right? There are different scenarios, but if you want to really get to know more, I will share you a blog post on this chat window, which you can use it to get more information. But ideally, so it says organizers. So I'll send it to the organizers. Let the organizers share back to you. But the idea is that the compensating controls and customized approach are two different things. Compensating control is only to be used when you are not able to meet a certain requirement, unable to meet the requirements as stated. And customized approach is for those entities who choose to meet the requirements differently as stated.
That's great. Clear.
Hope the stakeholders get that idea.
And I have pasted the link for the entire audience in the chat. So in case you're interested, it's a beautiful FAQ article released by the council. And this is another thing that I would like to bring to the notice of the members or the viewers, whether online or on YouTube, whatever, is that if you go to PCIsecuritystandards.org, go in the resources section, there's a FAQs. Very, very regularly updated based on questions that is received. And personally speaking, I just love to read the FAQs. So much new information, so much new clarity is there, which you'll not even get in the standard itself. And I'm not trying to deride the standard, it's beautifully written, but the council releases these clarifications, and everything's for free. So do go through it, it will really help. So thanks again, Nitin, for that very clear answer. Let me move to the next question, that is, most of our clients are service providers, to be honest with you. And one of the questions that I've received is, are there any specific changes to the requirements of just the service providers in version 4.0 that they need to really get into? Are there any changes to the requirements for service providers in version 4.0? Very pertinent standard requirements, that is.
So I think to answer it quickly, I think we have added some specific requirements, which is we have also reworked on Appendix 1, which was on the shared hosting providers. So I'm in the service provider category. I'm talking about shared hosting providers. Now we have started calling them multi-tenant service providers. Now with this definition of the term, it actually clearly includes cloud providers. So I think if I'm specifically talking about the service providers, the cloud providers are now be part of the standard. So now we have also included a new requirement that the multi-tenant service provider have to support their customers for penetration testing, so now the service providers here, who we call multi-tenant service providers, have to support their customers for the penetration. This is the new requirement and a major change that has come in PCI DSS version 4.0 when it comes to specific to the service providers.
Yes, and this is something which is very interesting because, Nitin, as you know, earlier the big guys, Amazon and all, they would make a mess giving permission to the cloud cloud hosting partners where they will not allow any sort of penetration testing to be done. And now with this requirement in place, guys, look at the thought process that the council has put in this, because And now even a party like an Amazon or an AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, they are certified on PCI DSS. So they are bound to give you support for penetration testing. They cannot say no, you might impact some other customers. They have to give you, because they are also PCI DSS certified. So this was a great move. Actually, it is like a checkmate that is done by the council to ensure that the people who are hosting on these cloud providers do not get left out in this thing. Okay, the next thing, actually I could have responded to it directly, but I thought if you say it, it'll really help. When is the prioritized approach document for PCI DSS 4.0 expected to be released? Can we continue to use the prioritized approach from 3.2.1 until then?
It's already released, by the way. So
Yes,
if I
yes.
check the dates, it is already
It is there.
prioritized
Just
approach document for PCI DSS is released. You can download, you can go into the document library and you can download. So we have prioritized approach document and also we have prioritized approach tool. Both of them are released. So I think
yes.
approach document was released in September 2022, way back, and the prioritized approach tool is released in February 2023.
Yes, yes, that is true. And guys, in case you're moving ahead for PCI DSS 4.0, in case you haven't already done so, we strongly recommend, I'm sure that even Nitin would agree with me, Nitin, this is the best document to do it. It sets the priorities, sets the timelines. It's very well written. Literally speaking, for a standard like an ISO or something, there are companies that provide this, but they charge you for it. And here the council has provided this prioritized approach document where you can literally do the entire gap analysis, come to know where are the gaps, what is the impact, and what is the priority of those impacts in one sheet with even a senior management chart included. So it's very good. Actually, we recommend to all, and we even use it for our clients when they are doing it for the first time. All right. Next question is, Nitin, is it feasible for third-party contractors to adopt a customized approach for their environment? Why this person, I know this company actually, and why they are saying is that they are major service providers to other companies. And if they use a customized approach within their environment, will it somehow give a diluted view of their PCI DSS to their, maybe the council or maybe to the brands when their ROC goes for review?
I'm still trying to relate to contractors. When you say contractors, what do you mean by the
The third
contractors?
party service providers, sorry, the right word would be the third party service providers who are doing all this, offloaded work, or doing all these, data processing, data analytics, or doing this
Hmm.
background, providing a payment gateway service that way. So will it really give like a diluted view to their customers in case they
See,
use
I
a
think
customized approach? Yeah.
so. I think here they need to check with the payment networks for sure. Whoever their clients are, they need to get the insights from the acquirer, whoever is the
Whether
acquirer there.
they'll be okay with the customized approach. Yes, yes, very true, Nitin.
No,
Yeah.
that's what they have to check, right? So depending on what kind of function they are doing, as I said, it's not easy. You have to be a risk
Yes.
mature entity to adopt to the customized approach. So ideally, you need to pick up with they need to pick up your customer. We need to pick up with you one, and you can in turn, or they in turn can get in touch with the payment network to analyze on their environment whether they are ready to pick up on the customized approach as an option to meet the requirements of PCI, or defined approach works well. So as I said, until and unless you are stuck with something, where you want to try something new because of the new emerging technologies or the new, new protocols that you have brought into your systems or in your environment, until and unless I would say, a defined approach is the best option. But if you have to go for a customized approach and you think that you're going to be benefited out of it, it's up to you. PCI Security Standard Council will not have any say on that, right? So at the end of the day, so it's up to
Yes,
them.
yes, and Nitin, yeah, yeah, of course, that's a great thing that you said, Nitin, and I agree on that part, because primarily speaking, when we say that to our clients, unless the control that you are seeing is grossly inadequate for your environment, do not, go in that direction, because there's a lot of subjectivity involved, in the validation of a customized approach vis-a-vis the defined approach. So unless there is, there is a gross inadequacy, better stick to the defined approach. So
Correct.
that's a great yeah. So that's a great point. And again, just to reiterate what Nitin had said earlier, guys, is that the council is responsible for the development of the standards, the management of the standards, and giving support to the participating organization, clients, and even QSAs like us. But is it acceptable to do this, or is it acceptable to do that? That is basically a call given by the payment brands. So you might need to reach out to them for such areas that for this particular 1, 2, 3 requirement, are you okay if I use a customized approach? So this is something that the council can't comment on. Maybe the QSAs and the payment brands and the acquirers, if there's a payment gateway, would be the best approach. Yes. So this is now the next question is a bit technical, Nitin. So does the new standard recommend or mandate the use of strong cryptographic standards like FIPS 140-2, 140-2? So does the new standard recommend or mandate the use of strong cryptographic standards? Yeah, this is something that is catching up now. Most of the companies are using APIs like, Bouncy Castle, and also, is it a mandate that you have to use this, or can you write your own and do something else?
No, I think this is still tricky to answer, but I think I have an FAQ which could probably help. So this is largely in the P2P. How do hybrid decryption environment differ from a hardware decryption environment? So we had an FAQ, FAQ number 1248, which specifically talk about in a hardware decryption environment, all decryption operations are performed only by the PCI listed or FIPS approved HSMs, right? So in a hybrid decryption environment, the decryption of account data is performed on a host system outside of an HSM. So the solution provided decryption environment may consist of multiple host systems in one or more locations. Now, when the host system is required to decrypt encrypted account data, which is received from the POI, the account data decryption key, which is DDK, is retrieved from a key stored protected by HSM, and then it is passed to the host host system. Now, the host system temporarily retains account data decryption keys in the volatile memory for the purpose of decrypting account data. When the data decryption keys, which are DDK, reaches the end of its crypto period, it will be erased from the memory. Now, these DDKs are also are the only keys permitted to exist in the clear outside of the HSM and only for the purpose of decrypting account data. Now, talking about all other cryptographic keys, the function and the key management operations must still occur within the secure cryptographic devices, which is HSM. Now, in both hardware and hybrid decryption environment, all HSMs used in the solution must be approved to either FIPS 140-2 or 1403, which is level 3 or higher, or to PTS HSM. Now, you need to, if there's a specific stakeholder of yours or a customer of yours, they need to refer to the P2P standard for further information. So that's where the FAQ, that is what our FAQ states. And I think if anyone has any questions on this, probably they can just type in onto the FAQs, FIPS and 140-2. They can get more answers, more specific queries on our website.
Yes. Actually, again, I'm repeating myself, is that the FAQs, if you're a QSA, if you haven't gone through the FAQs, you have really missed quite a bit. I've learned so much from the FAQs. And if you are a client who's implementing PCI DSS in your organization, I cannot overstate the importance of reading the FAQs. Very small, very short, very crisp, very precise. And it's free. Please do go through it, and they regularly keep releasing new ones. It's almost like every month 1 or 2 keeps coming up, so if not more, that is. But it's very, very interesting, very interesting. So okay, the next question, guys, Nitinji, is that this is like with the dates, still so much controversy on the dates, Nitin, and you have said this, but still I'm floating the question again. If an organization is recertified in January 2024 and the next certification is due in January 2025, can they still be certified under version 3.2.1, given that 4.0 will be mandatory from March 2025? This is a complicated one. I'll repeat it again. If an organization is recertified in January 2024 and the next certification is due in January 2025, can they still be certified under version 3.2.1? Given that version 4.0 will be mandatory only from March 2025.
Okay. So I think answer to this question is very simple. My PCI DSS version 4.3.2.1 retires on 31st March
31st
2024.
March 2024. Yes.
2 years that we have given from PCI starting March 2022
Yes.
to 2024 is a transition period. Now,
Right.
what does it mean? It means that you should start your transition from 3.2.1 to 4.0. Now, typically, many organizations have started. Many organizations have still been on 3.2.1. Now, if you have got annual validation done in January 2024 on 3.2.1, the standard support will not be there. Still, your validation will be okay because the life cycle of the standard or the validation is 1 year, which is going to be there. But from the PCI Security Standard Council, the support that is required for 3.2.1 will not be there. Now you have to analyze. I leave that judgment to the industry stakeholders, how they assume that. Because from PCI Security Standard Council point of view, 3.2.1 retires on 31st March 2024. There are best practices that are going to be best practices, are going to be requirements only 31st March 2025, but there is no mapping as such. 4.0 remains because, as I talked in my presentation, we released a very limited version RFC for the request for the comments for the stakeholders to the revision of version 4.0. So you may see a revision to the version 4.0. So when we are talking about revision to version 4.0 now, we can't go back to 3.2.1 and say that 3.2.1 is going to be still in existence. So 3.2.1, if you are even thinking of getting validation against the validation of the standard of version 3.2.1, I would suggest that rethink, because that's not going to help you or benefit you in any which way. 4.0 is the future, and with the 4.0, whatever X version is going to come is going to be the next updated version of the standard. So you can think about 3.2.1 and version 4.0 where we are. It's a long gap. So it will be very, very difficult for you to even cover up on that gap that is going to get created, or a vacuum that is going to get created. So assuming that vacuum, don't take it lightly. It's going to be now, then never. So version 4.0 is the crux. Start thinking only 4.0. Just forget 3.2.1 at this point, because it's going to retire. You won't even see 3.2.1 document on our website. You won't see after 31st March having a single document on version 3.2.1.
Wow. So there is one thing that I say to everyone is that, as just adding to what Nitin you rightly said, is that even the reporting ROC document has been totally rewritten. Just the template is like 400 plus pages. Earlier, the QSAs would take
I can't hear you, Naren. The voice, I lost you. Can't hear you. Hello. Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
Am I audible? Can you hear me now?
I can. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So just to reiterate, and I'm sure that Nitin would also agree, is that the reporting format has been totally rewritten. You cannot use last year's reporting. Now earlier, if you could do the reporting in like 10 days, because you could refer to earlier ROC of 3.2.1, we can't do that in 4.0. You have to start from ground zero. So the reporting time is very high. Audit times are high because literally speaking, in this new reporting format, for almost all the individual controls, the council has asked for attestation from the auditor, from whom you are speaking to, from where you got the data. Each requirement takes a lot of time to write. Just the template is 400 plus pages. So it is as I couldn't agree with you, Nitin, more. It's either now or never. I don't know why companies still come to us, ask for version 3.2.1, and they still do. And I say the same thing. You cannot implement 65 new requirements in 1 year. Start now, implement at least whatever you can. Of the 65 new requirements, implement at least 20 or 25. Do it the remainder in the next 1 year. Don't wait for 2025. All right. So moving ahead, one second. The next question. Okay, this is we kept getting feedbacks on this. Are there any updates or changes to the data encryption requirements in version 4? Now, not just FIPS, but for example, SHA 256, you are now supposed to use SMAC, SHA 256, and those things. So Nitinji, if you can just summarize the data encryption changes in version 4. Now, this is very important for companies. The reason being, they'll have to change their platform, update the way the data is encrypted, decrypted, how to manage the old data encryptions and backups and everything. So this is like a massive update that has happened. So Nitinji, over to you. Are there any updates or changes to the data encryption requirements in version 4.0?
Yeah, I don't see immediately. I don't have an answer to that question, but so I think new requirement of there has been a disk level or the partition level encryption, which has been evolving. Requirement number 3.5.1.2. Just wait for the revision to the standard, which is going to come. You will see some kind of a minor update there. That's still in the RFC process. So that's one update that I have for the industry. 3.5.1.2 is one requirement on the disk level or the partition level encryption, which is used only to render pen unreadable or the removable electronic media, or if used for non-removable electronic media, the pen is also rendered unreadable by the mechanism that meets requirement number 3.5.1. So I think this is an evolving requirement. I would ask your stakeholder or customers to wait for some time on this specific requirement and see what's new going to come by. Yeah, there are questions that we have been also hearing last 1 year, and so just wait for some more time. I think we should have answer to that specific answer to this encryption requirements.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'm pushing you on this, Nitinji, but for the sake of my audience, by when is this updated requirement expected?
This is under RFC. Once the RFC is closed, the review is going to happen within the team's standards team, and once the EXCO approves, the executive committee approves, it will be published. So it's going to take time. I don't have a date, but this is a best practice until 31st March 2025. Hopefully, before 31st March, until it is a best practice, we may have something.
Okay, so that's good enough. And of course, in that case, the council will give time to implement also, because it cannot be just like in 2 months' time.
Yeah, just for an example, a specific requirement of 3.5.1.2 is still a best practice until 31st March 2025. So you will see some minor change there.
Further requirements that needs to get updated. Of course, there will be some additional time also given, right?
I am not sure at this point of time what the change is going to come. It all depends on the change, what kind of changes is going to come. So no commitments, no assurity or a commitment on a date at this point of time, because I also myself don't know what's going to come by.
Okay. So the next one. Okay, this is a bit of a long one. I'll make this my last question. I remember you telling me, Nitin, that you have to run for your next flight. So the risk, I said, this might take some time to. So I'll make this the last. For the sake of my viewers who have written so many other questions, I'll be replying to it myself, or I might request Nitinji to probably respond to it. But rest assured that we will respond. So the last question for the day. The risk assessment in the vulnerability assessment seems to be more stringent in version 4, requiring medium and low ratings. This could result in many vulnerabilities that needs to be mitigated. Is a manual approach required for the risk assessment, or can we use automated tools with integrated threat intelligence and data science, such as those with a vulnerability priority rating that prioritizes real threats that are publicly exploitable? So I'll just put the question in the chat box, Nitinji. So it is more also.
So, is the external VA that you're talking about, or an internal VA? Because authenticated scans are mandated for both, right?
Yeah, so this could be both, I guess, because even I get questions on this, because with the authenticated scans, it's
So
really going to be very, very difficult for people. I hope you can see my question on this in the chat.
I can see that question on my screen, but at the same time, see, for the ASV scans, if you're talking about external VA, you need to check with your ASVs, because the ASVs are authorized by, they are the authorized scanning vendors from the
The
PCI
council,
Security
yeah.
Standard Council, right? So they are the one best situation in terms of meeting the requirements. Now, for the internal VA, if your organization is doing that, you need to use the requirement specific and use whatever the best technologies that are. So we have not specifically mentioned anything around what should be the technologies that should be used around, but yeah, I think it's up to the industry, how they assume that would work best for them to implement these specific requirements around the vulnerability scanning, because that's where, I would say this is where the PCI DSS version 4.0 has evolved. And I think we have, and it's not just we, it's the industry who was asking us that, why not we have authenticated scans.
Yes.
Today they are all non-authenticated scans. So now I think we all need to work towards in terms of making sure that we are doing authenticated scans, and also using technology tools, whichever you think is working best to accomplish the better results or best results to meet the requirements of the standard and intent of the requirement of the requirement. We should go for it.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, Nitin, I had given that as one of my feedback to the council at the writing of the PCI 4, because so many people, as you know, you've been a QSC yourself, companies would just do the non-authenticated scans, show a clean report, even though as an auditor, I knew that there would be vulnerabilities, because these companies would take a shortcut. So this is a great change by the council, and this is where, again, I tell the viewers, I tell my clients that please do not take 4.0 for granted, because earlier you would get away with authenticated scan, finish it in 1 week's time and give it. Now you'll have to show authentication. With authentication, you would get like 10 times, 100 times more findings. When will you be closing it? This is something. Yeah, this is something that I keep encouraging. All right, so that was the last question that I could take for the day, Nitinji, and 1 minute. So just let me go towards a clean closure on this. 1 sec. All right, so that brings me to the end, guys, and thank you again for your time. And of course, my deepest appreciation for Nitinji, that in such a tight schedule, he's running to the flight now, and he's got his family also, and you're here. Again for your time. And this is our LinkedIn page, our Facebook page. Please do visit it and go through all the all the requests over there. And there is a gentle reminder for a survey. Please to provide your feedback. It is very, very important. We do this webinars for free, but do provide your feedback on what you think, and has there been any issues or any sort of feedback for the next webinar to be done. It's very, very important for us. And that's the contact details should you want to reach out to us for any queries or anything that you might help out, that you might need support for. So again, in closure, Nitinji, thank you again, and have a safe flight. If you don't mind me asking, where are you getting off to this time?
Delhi. Extreme cold. I have a flight at 5:55. I was still at home, so I am going to rush.
Please have a safe flight. I've heard a lot of weather issues over there, lot of issues happening. So just take care, my friend. Take care and God bless. Thank you again.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.